Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mitchell Losi and today we're talking about contracts. So you just started your photography business, you just started your video business, and you have a client, you have a couple of inquiries, people that you know, people that you don't know, and you kind of have this kind of like weird relationship because you know you want to get paid, they know they have a service, they haven't really mentioned price. You haven't mentioned price, you don't really know what's going on. Let's say you continue down that route, you do the work for them, and you still haven't talked about like how much you're getting paid, what necessarily exactly they want, and you finish the project, you show it to them, they ask you to send it over, still money hasn't been talked about, and you're like, okay, I'll just send it, and then now after all of that, you have to bring up money, and you don't know how. Awkward, you're not really sure if it's okay for what you're asking for what you did for them, and you just feel uneasy about it. You throw a number out there, they don't like that number, you're like, crap, that's like the minimum that I need to get paid for. So now what do? Like, you're screwed because you didn't have anything in writing, you didn't set your expectations before you did the job, and it just sucks to be in that boat. I've done it before with my first couple jobs. Really stressful, it's really annoying, and the one thing that solved that is having a contract. I know when you hear contract, it sounds legal and overwhelming and everything, but it really doesn't have to be that hard. It's pretty straightforward once you figure it out the first time, and it just takes a little bit of work to get that set up that first time. So then after you already have a contract, it's pretty much just plug and play for each job. You can just put in the fields, the types of service you're doing, and then it's good to go from there. So I want to go over the important tips in a contract, where you can find some, also give you a special deal on a service that comes with templates for contracts, because I know it's really hard to figure out. If you just Google photography or video contracts, you're gonna get a lot of weird, maybe outdated templates, and they're all gonna be a little bit different. There's a few things you're gonna wanna make sure are in each of them, and there's a couple different services you can use to streamline the whole process and make it easier. And I'll go over one that I use because I'm familiar with it. I use it every day, and I think it's totally worth what it costs. So, and just to preface all of this, I am by no way a lawyer. I really haven't even consulted a lawyer for my part. So take what I say with a grain of salt. Do your research. If you can afford it, I would definitely consult a lawyer just to make sure, depending on what state you're in. I'm in Wisconsin, so it's gonna definitely be different if you're in a different state. So don't take what I say as the way to do it, but it's your business, you do what you need to do. So that's all I'm gonna say. Also, if you are new here, my name is Mitchell Losi. I'm a photographer, a videographer, and I'm working on growing my own business. So if you're interested in any of those things, I would hope you would subscribe and hit the bell button so that you're notified when I post my latest videos, and we can both learn along the way. So for my business, I have 3 primary services that I do. That is headshot photography, portrait photography, and I do wedding videos. So I'm gonna go through what each of my contracts look like for those 3 services, and I'll show you what they look like so you can either copy what it is, use it for your information, whatever you wanna do with it. Again, it's your business, so you do what you need to do. So starting out, so I have my laptop here, so let's just go through what they are, what the purposes of the different fields are, and kind of just describe what it all is. So this is my headshot contract. Important piece of information you need to have is project location. So if it's in a studio, if you're doing it at a location, you want to know where both of you guys need to meet up. You want to have the client's full name, their email, their phone number. You want to have the time frame. You want to have how long it takes to shoot the photos. You want to have the start time and the end time, so it's all clearly laid out. Everyone knows when they need to be places, where they need to be. So that's very important, just to lay that all out in writing. And then you need to have your description of services. So what are you doing for them? So what are you doing? How many photos are they getting? This is where you can have list out how many numbers of photos they're getting, if it's edited, if it is retouched, all of that type of stuff in there. It's always good to have a clause that says the photographer will make good faith to achieve the client's desired results. However, photographer will maintain ultimate discretion and control over the session. Photographer will use the equipment that photographer finds appropriate and will take the photos that photographer finds appropriate. Client's desired results are limited by the terms of this agreement. So it's basically saying the photographer has the creative control over the photos. They will do the best they can to get what the client wants, but it's up to the photographer. So that kind of releases you artistically. So that's not to say you're gonna give your client something that they don't want. It's just that if, like, say you color graded it a little bit weirder than what they wanted, it's your photo, it's your art, so they can't sue you over that. And then just the terms and conditions. These are shorter because it's headshot. It's only about like an hour, if even that, for taking the photos. It's not a big event or anything. There are 10 different points here for the terms and conditions, so I'll just go through those for you. So number one, it's understood this photographer is the exclusive official photographer retained to perform the photographic services requested on this contract. Photographer may substitute another photographer to take the photos in the event that the photographer's illness or a scheduling conflict. And then in the event that there is such substitution, number two, the photographer warrants that that photographer taking the photos shall be a competent professional. So that covers two things. No one else is going to be there taking photos for them, so you're the only photographer. Number two, if you get sick or you can't make it, you are going to supply them with a competent professional photographer. So that's very important to have, so that if anything were to come up, you're in the clear. Number three, no part of any order, including previews, will be delivered until the balance is paid in full. So there's talking about payment. They're not going to receive any photos until they pay you money. That's also very important. Number four, the photographer reserves the right to use images created under this contract for advertising, display, publication, or other purposes. The client signing this contract warrants that he or she has actual authority to agree to the use of the likeness of all persons included in this portrait in this manner, and shall indemnify and defend the photographer in the event of litigation arising out of such case. Negatives, digital files, and previews remain the exclusive property of the photographer unless a shared copyright agreement is entered into. What that gives you the right to is using any of the images you take for marketing, your website, Instagram, all of that kind of stuff. Basically says that you have all the copyright unless you give them the copyright, but you still maintain a copyright. You're just giving them a copyright to use the photos. So basically, you own the photos, you can do what you want with them. They agree that if, so let's say it is a headshot for a daughter of a mother. The mother signed a contract. She is the client. She's saying that she agrees that you can use photos of her daughter, because she's not the one signing, for all of your marketing needs. Same would be if it's corporate headshots and one person is signing the contract and paying for it. They're saying that all of their employees agree to let you use their photos on your website. Number five, this agreement between the photographer and the client permits a shared copyright agreement allowing the client to use the images delivered by the photographer in any manner they please, as long as proper credit is given to the photographer. So what that means is, so it's a shared copyright. You have the copyright, they can use the copyright, but if they use your photos on Instagram, their website, anything like that, they just have to do photo credit to whatever your studio name is. Just so that if someone else wants photos like that, they know that you took them, they are your photos, everyone's credited properly. It's just important to do that. Because now if they post it to their business Instagram, they're not saying they took those photos for the business, they're saying this awesome photographer did it, you should check him out, and that brings more leads to your business. Number six, upon signature, the photographer shall reserve the time and date agreed upon unless the studio is able to fully replace the canceled reservation. All sitting fees and deposits are non-refundable, even if the portrait is rescheduled or canceled for any reason other than inclement weather. So this is one of those clauses that's kind of up to you. You can have any deposits you receive be completely non-refundable. I kind of think it's a nice practice to, if they need to cancel and you do fill the time, you can pay them the money back just because you replaced their money. That's totally up to you, but it's good to have a non-refundable deposit clause so that they know that their first deposit, they're not getting back because it's being reserved, and it takes your business away from you if you reserve that time. And it's also saying that their dates reserved. Number seven, if in the opinion of the photographer, inclement weather or other adverse conditions prevent the creation of a portrait meeting the artistic standards of the photographer may elect to use an alternate location or to reschedule the portrait. So that's saying if it's raining and you had your headshots outside, or the lighting conditions suck, you can reschedule it. You can go to a different location. It's up to the photographer, and they can't yell at you or get mad because it's in the contract, they signed it. Number 8, if the photographer cannot perform this contract due to fire or casualty, strike, act of God, or other cause beyond the controls, or due to the photographer's illness or emergency, then the photographer shall return any deposit or sitting fee to the client, but shall have no further liability with respect to the client. This limitation of liability shall also apply in the event that the photographic materials are damaged in processing, lost through camera or media malfunction, lost in the mail, or otherwise lost and damaged without fault on part of the photographer. In the event this photographer fails to perform for any other reason, the photographer shall not be liable for any amount in excess of the retail value of the client's order. What that is basically saying, if something random, crazy happens to you or your photos or whatever, you can give all the money back and it's as if nothing ever happened. Now, if that does happen, you probably should say, hey, let's reschedule, let's redo it for free, no extra charge, because I'm a good business person and I believe in good customer service. That'd be the right way to do it. But if you can't, this is saying that you are off the hook. You just got to give all the money back and you're good to go. So very important to have. Number 9, the client is aware that color dyes in photography may fade or discolor over time due to the nature and inherent quality of dyes, and client releases photographer from any liability for any claims whatsoever based on fading or discoloration due to such inherent qualities. That would only really be if you are doing film photography. It doesn't really apply to digital, but it's okay to keep in there. It's up to you. Some people like film, so you might be using film still. It's up to you. Number 10, last one for this contract, is the charges in this contract are based on the studio photographer's standard price list. The price list is adjusted periodically and future orders shall be charged at the price in effect at the time when the order is placed. This isn't actually the last one. There was one hidden in there. That's basically saying your prices are going to go up over time because you're going to gain more skills. You're going to get more in demand. It's just how it works. So they can't get the same priced headshots that they did when they first did these. If they want headshots again in 6 months, because headshots always need to be updated, they're gonna have to pay whatever you're charging them. So, and then lastly, this contract incorporates the entire understanding of the parties. Any modification of this contract must be in writing and signed by both parties. So you can't change anything, they can't change anything. If you do, gotta sign it. That's a headshot contract. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much on paper. It's all super important stuff to have, so that's really good for headshots. Now moving on to portrait photography. All right, so for portrait photography, a lot of these things are gonna be very similar. I'll try to go over what the differences are. I'll be a little more brief for this one, but it's gonna be the same things. You wanna have project location, the client's name, email, phone number. Make sure you have your email, phone number, and everything on there so that they can reach you. So again, how long you're gonna be doing it, when it starts, when it ends, description of services, how many photos they're getting, what type of editing they're getting, all that kind of stuff. And then no guaranteed results. So as stated in the description, the photographer will make a good faith effort to achieve client's desired results. However, photography is a subjective form. Price, so this one I include the pricing. So you can have your deposit is this much, due at this date. Your final payment is this much, and it's due on the date of the photo shoot. The service fee is due even if the client stops the session before the end time established in the basic session overview. It's basically, even if the client needs to stop early, you still get the money for the full time. Deposit section's a little more drawn out in this one. So a required retainer of the first payment amount is due at the signing of this agreement or at another time as agreed by the parties. The service fee, when due, will be reduced by the amount of the retainer. No photography will take place and no rights are granted until the retainer is paid in full. Photographer will reserve the session date time until paid. Blah. Okay. Payment. Once the services are rendered, client must pay the last payment due date. If the fee is not timely paid, the photographer will withhold the client's access to the photographic materials from the session. Also, a late payment fee may apply. No refund, so upon signing this agreement and doing the retainer, you cannot get it back. The photographer will reserve the session and make no other reservations at a specified time frame. That's why it's non-refundable. It can be canceled. If it's canceled or changed, you won't get the money back. And then again, if you can't perform, you're covered there. Exclusivity, you're the only photographer Limits of liability, if anything were to happen, act of God, illness, all that kind of stuff, you're covered. Photography style and discretion, saying you have the artistic right to choose how the photos turn out, and it's up to you, not the client. Archiving the photos, this can be important. You're gonna keep your digital files for a number of years, and after that date, you have no guarantees you'll have the photo still. Restriction of use, saying you can use it for saying you hold the copyright, you're letting them use it. You can reproduce it, use it on your business, all that kind of stuff. And then another couple points here is the client shall not modify the photographic material, so they can't edit your photos, they can't even crop your photos, they can't post your photos without attributing you. The client shall never distribute or make copies of it or give them out without consent from you, and they shall not publish photos without written consent from you. So you have the say of what happens with their photos. Intellectual property rights and release. So images taken by you are copyrighted by you. Even after full payment and everything, you still hold the copyright. They get to use it for any personal use because they're personal portraits, as long as they credit you. And then just appropriate conduct, safe working environment. The client agrees that wherever they take you for the photos, you'll be safe. If something happens, everything's covered. Just in case it's at like an event or something like that, it's on the client, not on you. So that's pretty much a brief overview of the portrait client. I don't want to make this too long of a video, so that is that. Lastly, I do wedding videos. So this is my wedding video contract. This one's a bit longer. When you have a full day big event with a lot of money on the line, you want to make the contract should be more detailed and a bit more specific, especially for weddings. So I'm gonna go over what mine has for this. So you enter in on the agreement date. You have the date of the wedding, the start of the wedding, the ceremony time, and the ending time of the wedding. So you know when everything is and is going to be. You have all of your details, your name, email, address, phone number. Client has their name, email, address, phone number. I like to have an additional contact, so the name of their additional contact, their mobile phone number, and that person needs to be able to be contacted on the day of the wedding, and it needs to not be someone getting married. So I don't want the groom, I don't want the bride, I want someone else who has some authority for the wedding that I can reach if I don't know where to go or something changes on me. Saying that this is for a wedding agreement. So services. The vendor will provide the client with following services and products. This auto-populates in my software, so it has like what package they have, how much time they have me for, what they're getting from it, what type of video they're getting from it, how it's stored. So am I gonna provide online storage for the video or hosting for the video? And then if I'm delivering it to them, that's all in this section. What I do with my video packages is I let them change their package up until after the wedding date, because I film wedding days the same no matter what package, and I have flexibility to change it around. So my clients have up to 5 days after the wedding or until the specific date to notify me to change the package, and then after that it will not be changed. Some fees are unable to change, like travel fees, things like that don't change based on package. It's just like those are the fees because I had to do something. Location and delivery of services. So where's the ceremony, the name, the address, the phone number, where's the reception, name, address, phone number, and then when am I gonna give them their final product? So I usually do about a month out, put that date in there. I usually can deliver it faster, so a month just gives me some leeway if I have multiple projects going on at a time. Cost, fees, and payments. So how much is the total amount that they're gonna be paying, and when is the last payment due? And then this auto-populate section will have the deposit date, amount, percentage, the final payment due. So I usually take 50% when they make a deposit and book me, and then 50% on the day that it is performed. And there's a clause here that says the first payment's not refundable, always important to have. At minimum, they agree that that retainer compensates me for committing to provide a service and turning down other clients. Exclusivity. This is important for weddings because a lot of people have their smartphones, their little cameras for the thing, they get in the way, they're kind of annoying at weddings. So exclusivity. The client agrees that I am the only hired vendor that will perform videography. That doesn't mean photography, someone else can do photography. I'm the only one able to do video. They can't hire two different video clients and expect us to work and do different things or whatever like that. I'm the only videographer. Copyright ownership. I own the copyright of the footage. They can use it for personal use. but they cannot sell it, use it for commercial use, say they did use it, unless they get written permission from me for whatever they want to use it for. Model release, the client grants the vendor the legal representation hairs, basically saying the client agrees that I can have them in my videos, on my website, on whatever promotional things I do. It's releasing the fact that they are in my video. Important to have as well. Artistic release, another super important thing to have. If they're not satisfied, it's the vendor's work. They're responsible for looking up what I do, what my style is, and expecting something similar to it. Videography is subjective, all those different things here. Every wedding's different taste, different budget, different needs. Videography is subjective. Vendor will use artistic judgment when providing the service and may not include strict adherence to what the client suggests. So I might not be able to get everyone that they want in their video. I may not be able to do a super crazy drone shot because there are restrictions at the venue, anything like that. So any dissatisfaction with my aesthetic and judgment is not a valid reason to terminate the agreement or to request any money back. So I could give them, never do this in your business, but I could give them a really cringy video that's really grainy, really bad, and they really couldn't do anything about it. But I'm not going to do that because I'm a good business person and I hold myself to a high quality standard, so I know I can give them a good quality thing. It's just, if for some reason they expected a Hollywood budget movie from their wedding and they didn't get what they wanted, they can't yell at you or sue you. Cancellation, rescheduling, and no-shows. This is really important for weddings. So I'm going to read this whole section just because I think it's really important. If client desires to cancel services, reschedule services, or if it becomes impossible for the vendor to render services due to the fault of the client or parties related to the client, such as failure of the wedding to occur or failure of one or more essential parties of the wedding to show up in a timely manner, groom, bride, parents, whatever, client shall provide notice to vendor as soon as possible via the notice provision detailed in the agreement. That's coming later. Vendor has no obligation to attempt to rebook for their services to fill the void created by the client's cancellation, rescheduling, no-show, or if it becomes impossible for vendor to provide the services due to the fault of the client, and vendor will not be obligated to refund any monies client has previously paid towards the total cost. Client is not relieved of any payment obligations for canceled services, rescheduling services, failing to show up to the wedding, or should it become impossible for vendor to provide the services due to the fault of the client, unless the parties otherwise agree in writing. For instance, if the vendor is able to secure another unrelated client for that event date, then the vendor may choose at its sole discretion to excuse all balance of the total. So whatever happens, if they cancel it for whatever reason, I still get paid. If I want to be nice and say I booked another client for that same day somehow, then maybe I can give them the money back. It's my discretion, not theirs. Important. Impossibility. So this is, again, just acts of God, war, evasion. It's all in there. I'm off the hook. I'll give them the money back. Failure to perform services. In the event that the vendor cannot perform the obligations in all our parts, I will immediately give notice to the client via the notice provisions coming later in the agreement and issue a refund or credit based on a reasonable, accurate percentage of services rendered, and excuse the client of further performance or payment obligations in this agreement. So if I can't do it, I will still get paid for the percentage that I may have already done, but I will give it released for the rest. The laws of my state govern all the matters arising in this agreement. Severability. If any portion of the agreement is deemed to be illegal or unenforceable, the remaining provisions of the agreement remain in full force. This is important if you're not going to have a lawyer read over your stuff. Some of the things you're saying are contractually obligated, might not be legal to do, but the rest is still covered if that's the case. This is that notice policy I said, so if anything were to happen to either of us, we will use our emails that are listed here to notify each other. Merger, this is just saying that the agreement constitutes the final exclusive agreement between the parties relating to the wedding and services contained in this agreement. All earlier or contemporaneous negotiations and agreements between the parties and the matters contained in this agreement are expressly merged into and superseded by this agreement. Amendment. Parties may amend this agreement, but you need to have written consent via the notice. And then it's just that safe working clause as well. So that was a lot. That was a lot of things. Contracts are boring. They are long. They take a while to get ironed out, but they are super worth it. There are a couple of resources you can use to get contracts or actually have like super legal, legit ones. There's a couple of resources. If you need to get contracts and you don't want to go through the hassle of figuring out the templates, cover resources, I know that there is thelawtog.com. That is a lawyer who is also a photographer, so she has a good understanding of the industry. She has a ton of templates on her website, and you just got to pay for them. So that's an option, not sponsored, just one I've heard about, haven't really used it. Another option which is what I went about doing, was signing up for HONEYBOOK, which is a client management software. What's really cool about them is they have contract templates built in, and that's where I based most of my contracts off of. It is pretty pricey, but considering if you're actually doing this for weddings, portraits, that kind of stuff, the other features of the software are super useful. You can automatically import leads from your website. You can have workflows for your different things. I think the biggest thing that got me to sign up for it was literally the contract templates, because I wanted my business to function very legitimately, and I was at a loss for how to get contracts. So the benefits of signing up for it were worth it. And I do also have a promotional code that I'm going to share with you guys. That's going to get you 50% off of HONEYBOOK for the first year, which is really valuable. And by the time that first year is up, you probably would be able to afford the other 50%. That's what I'm hoping on. I think it's kind of worth it. It's $40 a month normally, so this will bring it down to $20 a month. That's if you pay monthly. I think it's a little bit less if you pay annually. I'm doing the monthly one. It's a really good resource. That's where I got all those templates from. That's what that video you saw is from. You can tweak them. It lets you automatically fill a lot of the data that's in there based on what the information you already have in your project. If you have any questions about HONEYBOOK, you can always reach out to me and ask me. Just send me a direct message on Instagram. It's @MitchellLosey_, and I will be glad to respond to it if you have any questions about it. It's really a good resource. It is a lot of money if you're just starting out, but it's super worth it in the long run. Instead of keeping track of your projects on a spreadsheet or just unorganized, it makes it so easy. And another awesome thing about it is that when they sign the contract on there, they can also make payments online. So then your clients can pay with a credit card or a bank transfer. You don't have to do checks. You don't have to wait for checks in the mail. It goes through really fast. It takes about 3 days to get to your bank account and you have the money. So that's awesome. And I really value that out of it too. So you don't have to worry about paying for a credit card payment service for your photography. You can do invoices, contracts, send the proposal of services all through it. Makes it really simple. You can automate some stuff. I find it very invaluable. You can sign up with the link that I have in the description below. It's an affiliate link, so I do get a little bit of commission off it, but I would not promote it if I don't think it's worth it and I don't use it myself. I pay for it. I don't get any free services from it. So yeah, if you sign up with that link below, you get a free trial and then you can decide to use it. So I would just sign up for it, use the free trial. You can honestly just take the contracts from them if you're at a loss and run with them. So yeah. That's about it for this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you do have any questions about anything, leave a comment below. I know this is kind of a complicated topic. And subscribe if you're not already so you can know when I post my latest videos and get more content for growing your business. All right, this was a long one. Thank you for sticking out to the end. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys in the next one. All right, see you guys.